From the St. Louis Public Radio Newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Tuesday, January 14th. I'm Abby Larico. President-elect Donald Trump has promised mass deportation of immigrants and refugees when he takes office. That will hit some agricultural industries, including meatpacking, especially hard.
What we're going to see is a devastating impact on the meat and poultry industry.
That story coming up after this news on The Gateway. Officials from the Missouri Department of Transportation say road crews had several challenges that hindered a speedy snow cleanup in the St. Louis area over the past week. St. Louis Public Radio's Andrea Henderson reports.
State transportation officials say a third of their road operators are new and lack experience. The department is also down a few hundred workers statewide. Becky Almoroth is MoDOT's Chief Safety and Operations Officer. She also says the storm was mighty and it took longer than expected to plow because some snow melting chemicals didn't work well in frigid temperatures.
We were making really good progress when we get sunshine, but very challenging storm. So even that third of the operators that weren't experienced, the majority of our operators haven't seen a storm like this.
Almoroth says she spoke with Indiana officials about different snow melting techniques to use in the future. I'm Andrea Henderson, St. Louis Public Radio.
For the first time in 6 years, Missouri has a new governor. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Kellogg reports on the inauguration of St. Louis native Mike Kehoe.
Governor Kehoe took the oath of office shortly after noon. Following his inauguration, he addressed the hundreds gathered to hear him speak in frigid temperatures. In his speech, Kehoe said public safety, lower taxes, and expanded school choice are priorities for his administration. He also said there would be pushback against accomplishing those goals.
Missourians did not send us here to do what's comfortable. They expect results. They deserve results. And with my administration, they will get results.
Prior to being governor, Kehoe served as lieutenant governor as well as a state senator. Kehoe beat out two other major opponents in the Republican primary, later winning the general election with 59% of the vote. In Jefferson City, I'm Sarah Kellogg, St. Louis Public Radio.
Kehoe was inaugurated along with 4 other statewide officials: Andrew Bailey as Attorney General, Denny Hoskins as Secretary of State, Vivek Malek as Treasurer, and Dave Wassinger as Lieutenant Governor. And Governor Kehoe began his term in office by signing 6 executive orders affecting law enforcement. The Missouri Independent reports he signed the orders moments after taking the oath of office Monday. The actions include creating regional teams to arrest those with outstanding warrants, implementing immigration enforcement training for the State Highway Patrol, requiring immigration status be included in arrest reports in the statewide reporting system, and reducing the time required for troopers to reach the top of their pay grade. Attorney General Bailey said the immigration-related orders would position Missouri to assist with incoming President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement plans. The Missouri State University Pride Marching Band in Springfield is getting ready to perform in the presidential inauguration parade in Washington, D.C. Michelle Skaliski has more.
The 338 band members expected to take part in the parade will alternate playing the Missouri State University fight song, The Scotsman, and an arrangement of Ode to Joy in the parade on January 20th. MSU Director of Bands Brad Snow says they're honored to have been chosen to be part of the event.
We understand that not only are we representing Missouri State, but we've also been chosen to represent the entire state of Missouri. And so we take it pretty seriously.
With the current political climate, he says there's a bit of anxiety over not knowing what to expect, but he says politics aren't a factor for them in this event. It's simply a chance to showcase Missouri, the university, and share their music with the nation. In Springfield, I'm Michelle Skaliski.
Startups everywhere face a challenging path in the beginning stages, and in St. Louis, one of the biggest hurdles is access to early-stage investment capital. Local funding organization Arch Grants announced a plan to help overcome that by giving an additional $100,000 to 3 companies it awarded in the past. That includes Eyesight Media, a local startup that runs an advertising signage network in the restrooms of large venues like Enterprise Center. Brian Lord is the co-founder and CEO.
There's a lot of gap that happens between that initial investment and whatever that next marker is, which is typically $1 million in ARR, annual recurring revenue.
Lord says his company finally reached that milestone last year, but it was a slog, especially after the COVID pandemic shut down major venues. St. Louisans have found many ways to deal with the cold over the past week. Many stayed home, while others went sledding down Art Hill. But as St. Louis Public Radio's Chad Davis reports, some took to their backyards to create their own winter wonderland.
You might want to watch out.
10-year-old Knox Liebarger spent his snow days hitting the ice rink, the one in his Tower Grove South backyard.
We tried to do it last year, but we didn't get enough snow, and this is like the first time we actually got enough snow in forever.
Allison Cousins is his mom. She and her partner built the 9x20 ice rink, complete with a hockey net and a homemade Zamboni. Cousins says it was a perfect way to keep the family entertained.
It was really fun to see kind of that childhood through their eyes. We're hoping to have some continued cold temperatures to keep the ice frozen for a little while longer.
The temperature is expected to remain below freezing at least until Thursday. I'm Chad Davis, St. Louis Public Radio.
Maybe at least your heart is a little warmer this morning. Today's high, around 25 degrees. President-elect Donald Trump returns to the White House Monday and has promised to make immigration his top priority. That's likely going to have big impacts on the meatpacking industry, including plants in Missouri, and the price of our food. Harvest Public Media contributor Ted Genoways reports from Greeley, Colorado, on what that may mean for workers and consumers.
President-elect Trump has promised to crack down on illegal immigration, closing the border on his first day back in the Oval Office.
And on that same day, we will begin the largest deportation operation in American history.
Trump vows to remove up to 20 million immigrants, claiming that it will open up jobs for Americans. But experts say it won't be that easy. The meatpacking industry historically relied on immigrant labor, especially undocumented labor. But in the last 20 years, after a series of immigration raids, the industry turned to a new group, refugees. JBS, the largest meat producer in the world, pioneered the practice of hiring refugees for a simple reason: they couldn't be deported. At its three largest beef plants in Texas, Nebraska, and Colorado, the company employs more than 10,000 workers.
This workforce is an immigrant workforce, but they are here legally.
That's Kim Cordova, president of the United Food and Commercial Workers Local 7, which represents workers at the JBS plant in Greeley, Colorado. She estimates that perhaps 90% of employees there are foreign-born.
All the workers, at least at this facility, are documented, are here on proper work visas or asylum visas, refugees.
But Trump has vowed that his deportation program will include rescinding legal status for people who arrived here under humanitarian parole. In the last 4 years, President Biden used this executive power to welcome about 1 million people, refugees from Afghanistan, Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and Haiti, and many of them find work in hard manufacturing jobs, like meatpacking.
There's not a long line of people waiting for these jobs. They're some of the most dangerous jobs in the world to work at, and just really dangerous working conditions.
Cordova says the JBS plant in Greeley has a night shift made up of about 1,200 Haitian immigrants. They arrived in a wave about a year ago, fleeing gang violence in Haiti and drawn by the promise of a steady job with good pay at JBS. Now their future is in doubt. Chelly Moise is one of those Haitians. He fled to the U.S. through Nicaragua and traveled up through Central America to Mexico, where he was approved for humanitarian parole. He's not sure his fellow Haitians understand what Trump could do.
They feel secure because they know they already filed for asylum. I don't think they know the power that Trump is actually going to have as soon as, he becomes the president.
Moise says that if the Trump administration rescinds humanitarian parole and flies Haitian asylum seekers back to Port-au-Prince, the gangs that forced them to flee will be waiting.
Most of us, we left the country, obviously, because it was very bad, and we know for sure going back to Haiti is a death sentence.
Mass deportations will not only endanger the immigrants who are directly affected, they could also have wider impacts on the American food system. Don Stull is an emeritus professor of anthropology at the University of Kansas who studied the meatpacking industry for more than 3 decades. He warns mass deportations will come with hidden costs for Americans, too.
If President-elect Trump, in fact, implements the kind of draconian policies that he has talked about, what we're going to see is a devastating impact on the meat and poultry industry.
Back in Colorado, Cordova predicts that Trump won't deport legal workers on humanitarian parole. He will simply convert them to temporary work visas.
And they don't really want to do away with immigrants. They just don't want immigrants to have any rights. I mean, they know this country would collapse without them.
What actually happens when Trump takes office remains to be seen. I'm Ted Genoways, Harvest Public Media.
This reporting was done in collaboration with producer Marianne Andre and the Food and Environment Reporting Network. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri-St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.